Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. It is 5:03 on December 1st, 2025. Just a quick note, we will not be having a meeting in January. Typically, we take one or the other off, December or January, because of the holidays. Everybody decided on January. So just a reminder of that. Next thing, real quick, is just the approval of minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at those from last?
Mhm.
All right. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. A second.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Calm down. New business. Town Park and ball field sign proposal review.
John, is it okay if I give some historical background on this? So John has been working with Mr. Albright on a project. Thank you for the town park. So some time ago, a formal dedication was made to the ball field in memory of David Albright. And EJ and I were trying to remember how long ago. We think maybe it was 20, 25 years ago that we did that. That dedication still exists. At the time, one of the things that we did was we had a scoreboard that had Albright Memorial Field on it, which as a part of the town park project beginning in 2023, that scoreboard was removed. It was pretty well aged and non-functional at that point. So when we completed the town park project, we had not contemplated new signage as a part of the current park that you see out there. And so Mr. Albright and I, for some time, have been kind of discussing back and forth what some different signage would look like. And so some of it was pretty big. I think Mr. Albright has scaled it back quite a bit. And so tonight, John is going to present what that looks like for your consideration.
Yeah, so Mr. Albright has come up with a sign, and we are seeking approval for this sign application. We feel that the materials really match the amphitheater and the town park as well. Yeah. It's down at the south corner there by the dugout,
It's really nice.
and it's using the same silome stone that's at the amphitheater and town park as well.
When you say town park, John, do you mean like the native garden
No,
signage?
I mean, oh no, I'm not talking about signage. Sorry, I was talking about the stone that they're using, the silome in the town park.
So Louis, where this would be is right at the entrance to the ball field, there's a widened section of sidewalk.
Yeah.
And we can zoom in on that. Right at that main entrance off of the Buffalo parking.
Yeah.
To the left would be this sign. And I don't know, sorry, I need to look at this. I think there was going to be maybe some modifications maybe to the bottom of the sign. A long time ago in 18 something, the original baseball team for Dillon, Colorado, were called the Dillon Diggers. And Mr. Albright and I have discussed whether or not it would say Albright Field, and then below that say home of the Dillon Diggers. Could be kind of fun. But
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Made it feel weird.
I'll do it. Yes, sir. No problem. I think they were built like me back then. Yeah. Okay, so the stone would be complementary to what we have out there. That's what you're saying. Okay, I cut you off when you were talking about the sign itself. Sorry.
Oh, no. I mean, that's kind of it. It's pretty simple. It's a looking sign. And I didn't know if you had anything to add, Mr. Albright.
I really like the Dillon Digger concept.
Me too.
And the
That's cool.
location all works. Scott and I worked on kind of an archway, kind of a grander scheme, and my wife makes Go ahead.
Yeah, I love the sign. I think it's great I just feel like we need a date on it.
We need a what?
Date
A date?
of when it was dedicated to Mr. Albright. Yeah, I feel like all these dedication signs, they always have a date
Yeah.
of
Date dedicated.
dedicated.
You gotta-
Right.
you have to figure that out.
And I think,
It must be a public record.
yeah, and
The town council made a resolution.
yeah, I will go back with the town clerk and I will figure out exactly when we did that. I'm thinking that before the weather gets too wintry, that we may do some of the subgrade preparation. I have found a stone that fits the specifications perfectly and maybe get that set so that work on the actual sign itself could start anytime. But I agree, it'd be kind of fun, maybe in the spring or whenever, to do an actual, another kind of dedication and that kind of a thing, I think would be great.
It just does mean a lot,
Yeah,
especially grandkids. Going down,
sure.
it's kind of special.
Did the old sign have a date on it? No. Oh.
It was just on the
It's part
scoreboard,
of the
right?
Oh,
Top of the
oh,
scoreboard?
There's a scoreboard, it's
Okay.
a little, because the opting the space.
okay.
So
Very nice.
I don't know what you guys want here.
Just-
I mean, I personally, I think it looks great. I think it goes with the town park and,
Comments and consensus.
all right, my comments.
Connie Barn, sign design.
Mhm.
She's a world-renowned sign designer. And all Red Rocks, Red Rocks really have the dates, all the bands, that was her concept.
Oh.
So she does national park, quite talented. Did a nice job.
So my comments is I really like the sign a lot. I like the idea of the diggers because I really like history. The other thing is it two-sided or one-sided?
One side.
Okay. What I'd like to see on the backside and maybe like a little walkway path is maybe a little history about the diggers. Backside of the sign.
Okay.
Just a thought, but I think that'd be kind of
think-
neat.
Like the arch,
Mhm.
which would be to have some
Interpretive,
interpretive signs.
Yeah.
That could explain it. We could put something on the back.
Just a
or
thought, just a
at the
thought.
opening, because like people are gonna go.
and
"Well,"
I think
I agree. I don't-
if I might suggest that that could be undertaken separately from this installation. Because I think I would need to meet with the Summit Historic Society and really go back in their records and find more about the history of the Dillon Diggers and all
Sally,
that kind of stuff. So I'd want to work with them on that aspect.
Sally Queen can probably give you something pretty quick.
Right.
I mean, she knows that in the back.
I mean, even a sign on the back that might say, learn more about the diggers at the museum or something. I don't know.
I'm open to that.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I just think it's, you got the place on the back, you got,
Yeah, it's blank.
I think it's blank. I think it's neat. I like the idea of the diggers.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a good idea, Eric.
Any other comments?
I do, and sorry, I'm gonna go back to the sign for a second. The reason I was asking is just a month or two ago, we were talking about new signage for the native
Oh, right.
install garden. And you've probably heard me say this 100 times in this room, we just have a lot of different looking signs around town. So just some consideration. This looks great. It looks sharp. And just making sure that it fits with other signs that we have or might have is my only comment.
Yeah, you just beat me to it because we had talked about a color, right?
Yes.
Underneath, are we gonna pick that up in here somehow, or is this just completely different designs?
Exactly what I'm getting at. I think last month, whenever that was, some of us were advocating for like a bluish, the blue and the Dillon logo, right?
That's right, yes.
What we talking about that? So I'm just thinking out
A
loud.
little more bluish.
Or the blue you have could sort of tie into the blue.
Yeah.
We have this native garden sign going in and we were talking about, I can't remember where we landed exactly, using the blue.
Do you guys have a vision for your signage townwide?
That's
We,
above our
so,
pay grade, I think.
yeah, so we have not yet undertaken. Yeah, we've talked about hiring a consultant on a wayfinding project to do exactly that. The one thing I will say, to your point, is that we do have a color palette for our brand that Jesse,
Yeah, we do have
could-
brand standards.
yeah, so in terms of whatever the colors are, if you want to send that to me, I can forward that to Mr. Albright.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's loosely the logo over your shoulder, isn't it, Jesse?
Yeah, it's the
Loosely, so we're off by shades.
I like it in the green.
That is what we're talking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And actually, I guess just in terms of the building blocks here, like you're already saying, we have the amphitheater.
Green.
That all looks really nice.
And the-
This ties to that. I would imagine the forthcoming wayfinding effort could tie to
Blue with that blue.
this.
Becomes cohesive.
Yeah, exactly. It starts to tie together. It's, unlike, we still have those ones on Main Street, on Lake Dillon Drive, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they just look a little different. So
Or even the font of the word Dylan match. With the sign match the
Yeah.
font of our logo, maybe.
Cool.
I don't know. Yeah, it's very close.
Mm.
Like, it's just like looking at.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much right there.
this is awesome though. This is really cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Mhm.
So
So consensus is
thumbs up.
thumbs up.
Scott, is this the final for you? We have to do more.
John, is this the final?
Bureaucracy, this is down.
So John's with planning.
This is it.
This is it? You're out, and you can take it.
Yep.
Word up.
I don't
Yep.
You
know.
guys have that?
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, hold on. Final approval with the caveats we just discussed.
So let's remunerate changes. So
Yeah. I think is basically to be cohesive with the Dylan standards in terms of color and font. And that's it.
And then.
And then the wording on the back.
the
of it.
word
Yes,
on
thank
the
you.
back.
The
Sorry.
Dylan Digger,
The
Yes,
Dylan-
Dylan Diggers
Yeah.
and then a little something.
little
about
history blurb.
Dylan Diggers.
Right. I mean, it doesn't need to be expensive, just a little.
Yeah.
In the
couple sentences.
1880s, the Dylan Digger.
Yeah,
Sally Queen said something to me recently, the number of baseball teams in the county in the late 1800s. I want to say it was like 30.
Yeah, there was.
I know that sounds crazy,
It's crazy.
but it's something like that. So just having, 4 sentences of that,
Yeah.
of just fun facts.
It's awesome.
That'd be rad. Yeah.
Love it.
Who the hell is it? Dylan Diggers.
They also might want to know. who
That's the
David-
bumper sticker.
Who David is.
Yeah,
That's believing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they may want to know who David is.
Yeah.
Or
We're not gonna go.
why David's being honored or,
Right.
you know,
good point.
That's,
it's been there forever.
yeah, it's fine.
I think the
Yeah.
direction is.
Yeah, it's
clear.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We debated whether it should say memorial. Decided.
I like that.
Cool.
Makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Albert.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Jen,
Thank you, John.
a little more art in the world, eh?
All right, Jess, I think you're up. Amphitheater.
All right. Good evening. So last meeting we had talked about maybe doing a recap this meeting. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen tonight. There's just a lot of numbers still kind of floating around, a lot of expenses that we're still sort of paying and, a couple of equipment that we're upgrading and things. So I don't have final numbers for you yet. I do have a couple of just fun numbers to share though. So I'm going to give you those. And then what I really wanted to do tonight, or what Scott and I talked about, is diving into a couple of the topics that town council has been talking about and just asking you all your thoughts on them, just kind of a general discussion, so that if we wanted to make a recommendation back to town council of any changes that you feel they should consider, that's sort of the goal with these next couple of topics today. So, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm getting over a month-long bronchitis, so it's been really super fun. So if I lose my voice, I swear I'm not contagious or anything. So this year we did 40 shows, which is a little bit less than last year. We did 14 free shows, 26 paid shows. It's just 2 or 4 paid shows less than we did last year. That's where the difference in the numbers was, or 2 free shows less, 2 paid shows less. So 4 overall. We actually had higher attendance though. Our free shows, we had over 36,000 people come, which is an average of 2,500 people per free Monday night show. So just incredible the community impact that we're having with those Monday night shows now. We also hit a new bar sales record, $1.5 million of alcohol and concessions sold at the amphitheater this summer in fewer shows. So that just goes to show kind of what we're doing revenue wise over there. But what I really,
Is that a function of more volume or higher prices?
it's a little bit of both. Yep. Yep. And actually, yep, that's exactly it. So what we were asked to kind of discuss from council this time around is parking. So I really want to get y'all's thoughts on parking, how it's going. The way that it worked this year, kind of the evolution of the paid parking at the amphitheater. So in I'm just going to pull up my notes here. In 2023 was when we started this on the direction of town council. They wanted to do a test or a pilot of paid parking at the amphitheater. We picked 5 shows that we thought would be a good test. So it was the 2 string cheese incident shows and it was the 3 pretty light shows. Charge $50 a car just for the amphitheater lot to see how that would go. We made about $1,200 on average, and we worked with Interstate Parking, who is the same company that does the overnight rotating lots throughout town, the overnight paid parking. So it was just kind of good synergy to keep them doing that with us.
That's 1,200 net or gross?
1,200 per show to the town of what the town kept. So we split half with Interstate Parking. They keep 50%, we get 50% to the town into our parking, what was into our parking fund. So that was a total of about $6,400 for those 5 shows in 2023.
And
Please.
Was it full, sold out, the parking?
I do not believe those all
No,
sold out.
The parking.
I don't think the parking sold out for all of those shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was just in the Marina Park parking lot only, not on Lodgepole.
That's correct. Yeah. Yep. So council at that time decided that they wanted to do a bigger test the next year or a bigger program the next year. So in 2024, last summer, we expanded it to all of the events at the amphitheater, all of the paid concerts at the amphitheater, the ticketed shows. And we did $50 in the Marina Park parking lot. And we also added some of the lodgepole spots on sort of a pay-as-you-go basis. You go and you scan the QR code and you paid for your spot for different amounts of hours. It was a different price. And that actually averaged $2,500 per show or $70,591 for the full summer. In 2025, this summer, we kind of tweaked a couple of things and expanded and kind of worked with some of our partners like the Marina to try to figure out what works best for both user groups. We did Marina Park parking lot again. This time we did a sliding scale though. We saw that not every show people wanted to pay $50 for. So we kind of did like airport pricing, that the earlier you bought your parking, the better of a deal that you got. So it was actually cheaper if you booked your parking further out. And then within 2 weeks of the show, it went up to that $50. So I think I don't have the full numbers of how many parking spots were sold. But you're going to see that the number went down, but I think it's actually because more people took advantage of that early bird pricing on that. And then we also did Lodgepole this year as well. So, but that was a flat fee and you could reserve some of Lodgepole in advance, I believe. This cold is messing with my head, I think. I'm trying to remember all the details.
Was the fee last year when they got it a month before, was it refundable?
I don't know how they worked with refunds because it all went through Interstate Parking. Yeah, that's a good question. I can ask about that. So there were 26 events this year, 2 down from last year of the ticketed events that they were charging parking for, but we did have the beer festival in. We saw about $1,000 average per show in what the town kept of that parking revenue for a total of $53,347. So about 17,000 less last year, but because of that sliding scale is what I,
But we don't know how full parking lots were. In other words, could we generate more revenue by dropping price?
it's a
So you
really
can
good
fill it,
question.
you go,
hmm Some of the shows were definitely sold out. I think it really depended on the audience is what we saw. Some of the audiences were willing to pay for that, pull right up, know you have a parking spot reserved for you, can show up at any time, early, late, knowing that you can get parking right there on site. Um, so we did see that some of the shows sold out right away when the parking went on sale. Some never sold out. So there was a discrepancy a lot based on the type of audience and what they were willing to spend.
so is this something we're considering changing for this summer?
So that's my question to you all. As community members, I would really love to hear your feedback on this program. What do you think of it? Do you think it's working? Do you think it's a benefit?
Did you say 24 shows this summer, 26 last summer?
26 this year and 28 last year events.
I'm just going to interject some controversy if I can. So the one thing that the controlled parking has done is we really had a safety issue at the intersection of Lodgepole and Lake Dillon Drive. And doing this managed parking has really helped with that. So you have a bunch of people who are on foot walking down both sides of Lake Dillon Drive because we have sidewalk on both sides. And then there's a number of crosswalks down at the intersection. And so having the managed parking tent there and people being stopped and checked in and where you go, do you have a reservation or whatnot? That has worked really well. Something that is an added safety concern has always been the lighting at that intersection. And so council is, as a part of the budget in Dura, considering some monies in Dura for a new light at that intersection so that things are a little more visible in terms of pedestrian traffic. The challenge has always been that you have an operational marina just down the road. And there's sometimes, I think that has worked out pretty well. And Jesse's been in communication with the marina manager. And I think there were some hurdles initially, but I think that that's all been smoothed out. And I don't think that's much of a conflict really anymore. The other thing that was brought up during the council meeting was just a lot of times when we have a show, they shut the parking down early. And that's also the parking for the park. And so that was something that council had talked about, but I don't know, I can't remember where they landed on that, but I think it was decided that it was, or maybe it's still a discussion point.
Yeah, I think it's still a discussion.
Yeah, but of course, so and I'm a park guy, right? So, having the public have the ability to still utilize the park even during day of show, I think that creates little bit of a conflict, and I think that's still somewhat being debated. So I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah, and I want to add in to Scott, and what I really don't want to do is influence y'all's decision. So tell me if I'm giving too much opinion or detail, but for us, safety is the number one. And we have really seen that having a parking attendant at multiple points on those days has really improved the safety and reduced the amount of cars in that area, which increases the safety. Not having cars just circling that amphitheater lot, driving up and down Lodgepole while people are lining up to go into the amphitheater, even circling the marina lot. We've really cut down on that. We worked really closely with the marina and with Interstate to brainstorm some solutions for marina patrons to make sure that they were still getting access to the marina. And right now, the way that it's set up is all of the marina patrons get free parking. So we're also only charging amphitheater users. So I'd be curious your thoughts on that as well.
I have 2 questions. Can the town, if we do the management of it, the town, can we partner with post office?
$1 million question.
And figure out a solution and kind of like work it together kind of thing. So they get what they want and we get what we want. That's one thing. And then for the Marina Park families that want to come use the playground, how about on the night of the concert, we block off like maybe 10 spots temporarily for them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that would be for as they come. And then if there is nobody playing, there's no nothing, they'll be open it to the
Yeah, it's a discussion that when Interstate was here presenting to council, council had asked that question about like what, because right now the way that it works is that the Marina Park parking lot is closed until 2 p.m. and the reservations start at 2 p.m. and that's when cars are allowed to start coming into that lot. And the original reason for that was because Interstate wasn't sure how to handle if any cars got left in the lot as people with reservations started showing up. Because the last thing they want to do is try to get a tow truck in there to get people out. Or do they have to hold back some of the reservations that they don't oversell if cars aren't moving out in a timely fashion? So they did kind of commit to us that they would brainstorm and try to figure out a solution for that if that was something that was really important to this group and to council, to try to get that lot open during the day too and get cars cycling out by that 2 p.m.
Does Interstate use, besides the handicap parking, do they use every single spot for that type of parking?
They-
Or is there the ability to, as Mimi suggested, pick a row? And this is like day use only?
Mhm. I think that could be an option, and like we could definitely talk to them about that. They use all of they sell 55 spots, and I think there's about 62. We have a couple of staff trucks that we need to get in and out of there constantly to run trash, run errands, run, operations type things. The food vendors, a couple of them need to have vehicles in there so that they can quickly run and get food from their restaurants and their kitchens. But beyond that, the rest of it is sold, paid parking in that lot.
Another current state question. You said, would you say 55 spots
55
in the
is
Marina
selling.
Park, the Marina Park parking lot?
Mhm.
And then you said there was some number on Lodgepole that Interstate manages as well.
Mhm.
Is that included in the 55?
That's in addition
In
to.
addition to 55?
Mhm.
And then do they manage any in the Marina parking?
They do manage the marina lot. The only people that they're charging to enter though are people that do not have marina business.
Right.
So if you have a boat rental, if you're a slip holder, if you're launching your sup, if you're going to the tiki bar, you're
Mhm.
able to come into the marina lot for free. It's also our carpool lot. So we've been starting to push that if you have four, four or more in your car, you can park for free in the marina lots if you're going to.
I think that ought to be strongly encouraged.
Mhm.
That's great. The 4 people is more important than the $50
Mhm.
or whatever. Per kilo,
Yeah.
that's great.
I
I
want to
know from working with Interstate up in Arapahoe Basin, they can carve out some,
Mhm.
if like Mimi was saying, that's something that you were interested in. I have really mixed opinions on this in general. And without knowing, like Vince was asking, the demand,
Mhm.
it's sort of hard for me to have an opinion.
Sure.
Like
Right.
what
Let me see if I
percentage
can
did we sell? And I think I would have a hard time really knowing, offering any direction without that.
Mhm.
It's like $50.
Might be good to ask Interstate if they can keep track, whatever we do this year, assuming we're gonna do something similar, but keep track of vacancies. Because you want to fill it,
Mhm.
and maybe it's not $50, maybe it's $40, but
Mhm.
you get 10 more cars in there and it's basically a wash. But now we have more people parked conveniently as opposed to roaming in town somewhere.
I
Yeah.
mean, I would think they'd sell out though. Don't they know how many dates they sold
And
out for?
I have a huge spreadsheet from them that they've sent over. The thing is, it's every single date of the summer because of the overnight too. So I'd need to go in and kind of filter out the concert dates and
Yeah,
aggregate those separately, which I absolutely can do for you all. And I'm happy to send that around.
I think what's tough, and this is maybe sort of what you're saying, but I know there were nights with shows where there were spots available in that lot. And that's sort of hard to see, I think. To your point.
most of the time it looked pretty full to me. Pretty full, but there probably was some opportunity.
Yeah,
And is this about revenue? I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean,
It
I
depends
don't
if
go
you-
to Breckenridge anymore because I got to pay to park. 20 years ago, we quit going to Vail because we had to pay to park. And, I just hope that, that there's room for our handicapped disabled people. And at the end of the day, since there's just a kind of a few prime spots, I'm okay charging the people that want to throw money at us for parking. But I do think we need to promote how much free parking's available too.
Which we do.
And the carpool.
And
I
the
think that really
Yeah,
I think
balances out.
Carpool is
The
good.
carpool, the
Yes.
summit stage, the bicycle. Oh my gosh, sometimes there's so many bicycles there.
Mhm.
It's just
This is
crazy.
great.
It's great.
Yeah, and if
Um,
you
Love seeing that.
And
we do that. So if I do want to introduce the two lovelies in the back there. So this is Suzanne Phillipson. She's our marketing and communications manager. And Mark Wolf is our customer experience coordinator. So they're the two on the end of every email that you receive, any ticketing questions that you have. That's who you're talking to kind of behind the scenes. But Suzanne sends out all of the know before you go emails before each ticketed show. And so that big email that you get, and we have a whole section in there about carpooling, taking ride share, taking
not
the summit
parking in the
stage,
post office
all the
lot.
free parking spots. It is actually on there. Yep.
At your address.
Definitely.
Yeah, so we really try to
Put
push
your
all of the
US
options.
Postal Service sticker on your vehicle and then you can.
Mhm.
Is the handicap parking at the amphitheater on those $50 nights, is it free?
It is still free.
Okay.
It is first come, first serve though.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
do see that it
Kinda like
often
the
fills
ski
up.
areas.
Mhm. Yeah, but we do not charge if you have a valid handicap
Yeah.
sticker or a license plate.
And you don't need a reservation for this?
You do not. No, that's all first come, first serve.
Huh.
And
But
Maureen,
my-
to your point, I want to go back to your question because you asked like, what is the goal? So I think it depends on who you ask. I know that some of the former council members were very much about revenue sources and, looking for additional revenue to support some of what we're doing in town. I think for our team it's all about the safety, keeping the cars manageable, keeping pedestrians.
I think
safe
the
on there.
one way on Lodgepole is key. I
Mhm,
mean, that's right there is great.
mhm.
Lighting is hard. I know that a lot of people park by my house and I'm fine with that. But even myself going back home, trying to cross Labonte when you have everybody leaving,
Mhm.
it's it's interesting.
Yeah.
You hope it's, at least it's summer, so you don't have ice. The other thing though, that when we talk about parking, we've been to a couple of the town planning meetings and there's occasionally talk about a parking garage. And I've thought about that a lot, mostly because I've been at shows that are packed. We don't have a parking garage. Everybody somehow got there. But if we did start to talk about something like that, recently I was over at the Dillon Zoo and theirs is completely underground. So just a thought for people like me who are height sensitive in our town. Just keep going deeper. Till you're in the water.
Any other comments on parking? Do you have anything else on parking, Jess?
No, I was just kind of curious if you all thought it's working, if you want to see any changes. I'm kind of hearing price point. Maybe there's something we can do to make sure that it's always full.
I'm in agreement with Vince that, probably bring it down a little bit, see what happens. I like the idea of truthfully, it being, a safety consideration also. Yeah, because that intersection is bad, when there's a lot of cars zipping around, trying to find parking, going back and forth.
But if there's certain artists that we know, like String Cheese, right? It's gonna sell out because they got such a huge fan base.
Mhm.
So charge $50 for that one.
Sure.
But if it's a lesser tier artist, maybe then the price point can be different. So it doesn't need to be all or nothing, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it's just elastic pricing that
Yeah, and I
I
like
mean,
that.
interstate, would they do that? Are they good with
I
that?
think so. And I think, to your point is now we have 2 years worth of data. So I think if we really kind of get into the data and see which of the shows really sold out, which ones struggled, are there any trends there that we can maybe look and use into the future? Do you think that's something we could spend this winter analyzing?
Is there any thought to expand the paid parking?
Not that, well, I've heard one idea is to make the whole lakefront paid parking every day, but at a lower price point. So if we made the marina lot,
Oh, no.
the Marina Park parking lot lodgeable,
So friend.
See, this is good. This is the kind of feedback and reaction we want to see or hear from you all. That's the only real change I've heard is maybe going to a daily paid parking, but for a low price, like
I love the
$1.
signage now. It's free today.
Yeah.
That's welcoming.
Okay.
Yes.
Not free every day, but you're here the right day. Good for you.
Okay, thanks, Jess. You want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, so next we have sound policy discussion. This one was kind of brought up at council as well, just talking about sound policy. This one I really wanted to kind of open up as open-ended. You know, I have some data, I have some numbers, but really, I know you all are pretty avid concert goers. Have you ever felt that the sound policy needs to be adjusted?
Don't look at me. I don't go to the concert.
I go to the concerts and I wear earplugs because it's too loud for me. It's personal preference. I, think parents who are bringing their kids to some of those without head protection should be cited. I really do. I mean, I think it's too loud, but not always. I've been to some shows where it's been very reasonable, but other shows where the next morning I'm still hearing it. So I think it just varies. I don't know when, we got those emails today from Adrian about decibel levels, and I don't know what those numbers mean. I can't really comment on what's too loud or what number's the right number. But sometimes it feels pretty loud.
Yeah, I would second that. I've been to some shows where you don't want to be in the lower tier. It's just too loud, and I can only imagine what residents right there are feeling. And we saw some of the videos today. So there should be something. Whether the numbers proposed are right or wrong, I don't know. I looked them up. 85 dB is like a lawnmower. It wasn't clear to me is that at the stage or is that at the condo? Or is that somewhere else? So I think we ought to have some sense of what's tolerable at the condos, and then what's also acceptable in the music venue so that people can hear. There was a comment about having all the speakers point down and toward the center. Well, that's not great for the people who are sitting at the ends. So I don't know that particular concept works really well. But certainly to say, okay, at the condos, it shouldn't be more than whatever restaurant noise. But I agree, some concerts are unpleasant.
My comment is, the level of sound, I should control it because, so I've been going to the concerts 15 years. I know I'm going to a concert. I know I'm going to a music venue to hear music, right? I'm not there to chit chat with my friends, so I can't hear them or things like that. So, and then I look at the speakers. This is just me personally. I know if I sit in between the speakers, if it's a free concert kind of thing, it's louder. And then I bring my little earplugs. So I remedy my problem myself. Or I sit on the sides, I can still hear well, but it's not irritating my ears because I'm not 20 years old, or, you know what I mean? Like I look around and nobody else is being bothered except for me and my friends. So I said, guys, why don't we sit a little to the sides, or now we bring our earplugs and we protecting our ears, but we're still enjoying, and we see everybody else is enjoying. They're in front of the speakers and it's not bothering them. And then I also see the good parents bringing their kids. My son does the same thing with their things, and they're walking around with the kids in their arms. So I feel like it's a personal responsibility for, because you can't please everyone with the taste of the food, or, you know what I mean, the sound. It's a music venue. So that's kind of how I remedy the sensitivity of my ear.
That being said, I agree with her to an extent. I think the sound needs to be carried to the back, but not much further. You know, people that want to go up and be close to the stage, they do what Mimi's talking about. You know, if you want to be up front, be aware that it's going to be loud. But I think somehow we've got to come to a way of containing as best as possible the sound to the venue itself and not too much outside of the venue. Now, granted, there's certain things like how the wind blows sometimes will carry, you know, sound waves
Yeah, and humidity actually
and
changes it a
humidity
lot.
and things like that.
Mhm.
But again, I think, you know, overall, we got to figure out what is the right decimal for. And again, you know, you have some concerts where they're more of a mellow type of band.
Mhm.
Then you have some other ones that are going to be, you know, just a little bit louder, and maybe it's just like the parking. You have to adjust to what they're doing. So,
Yeah, it's
So-
like the genre of the night changes the sound, so
Mhm.
it's not like every concert is the same sound.
So Jesse, you may do this already, but when you weren't here for the reconstruction of the amphitheater, but we had, as a part of the design process, we had hired sound engineers and whatnot to kind of help with the design. And they actually, when we were commissioning the amphitheater, they came out with equipment when all of the speakers, and granted, we have different speakers now. But they actually did testing. They had, they were able to test at different points, and they were able to aim, and they called it sound sculpting.
Sculpting, yeah.
And they would figure out, you know, if you have the speaker aimed this way, you know, when it's just concrete, how does the sound bounce and what direction is it going to go? When you have an audience, what happens to that sound wave and where does it go?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something you do now or.
It is, and it's
Okay.
something we do every year. So you notice that our PA system actually stays up all year round or all season long. A lot of venues go up and down. But the nice thing about ours staying up is that we actually spend the first week that right after we hang it, sculpting it to make sure that the sound is staying within the venue as much as possible, to make sure that each part in the venue is getting the appropriate amount of waves, sound waves. You'll notice that a lot of venues just have like 2 stacks that just face forward and they crank it as loud as they can to try to fill the whole venue, whereas ours actually has fills filling into all the different spots so that it does create that full sound throughout the venue, but tilting everything down into the venue so that it's not escaping as much as possible. I did look at, you know, all of our surrounding venues. So the Ford Amphitheater in Vail, the Ford Amphitheater in Colorado Springs, the Fiddler's Green, Red Rocks. We're actually, if you look at their sizes compared to what their sound limits are, we're right in line with what those are of our neighboring places. So that's just a data point I can share with you, but we do sculpt
they
it
have-
every year.
Do they have policies that say, okay, for the residences that are the nearest their venue, maximum sound level needs to be X? Do they have that?
A lot of those venues, so I don't want to misspeak. Vail doesn't have a lot of direct neighbors. There's kind of a river and a road, and then there's people that live around there. There's a tennis center, there's a big garden and park. So they're not surrounded by residences like we are. I think we are actually very unique in that we are built right in a town with residences right next door. And so
There are other amphitheaters like that.
sure.
I went to one in North Carolina that was in a neighborhood,
Mhm.
exactly like ours. If I could see if I could find what they
Mhm.
sort of show for that.
Yeah,
So
I know
you're
like
saying with
Morrison
this-
has a number. I know that, so that if
Right.
it comes out of Red Rocks and it reaches Morrison, then it has to be back
Mhm.
down to 50, I think, or 70, whatever their town.
Jesse,
is.
Avon has a stage and a field. Are
Mhm.
there condos on either side of, is that, or is it a park?
It's it's kind of like hotels and mostly behind, and then it's some like government buildings like the library and the rec center.
Yeah.
The town
Is that where
hall.
that little lake is? That little
It's
pond?
on
Yeah.
Nottingham Lake,
Yeah,
yeah.
no.
So if we're the smallest venue, do we have the lowest decibel limits?
Ours is lower than Red Rocks. Fiddlers and Ford Amphitheater and Colorado Springs. Those are all bigger than us. We are slightly above the Ford Amphitheater in Vail, but we are bigger than them.
Okay, but when we say limits, I go back to where is that limit?
Mhm.
Is it at the stage, at the fence?
It's at a
or
number.
the residence? Because I think that's the key, right? Okay, we can say we have lower limit, but we're much closer. So then
Yeah,
the key to me is understanding what's at the residences so that it's tolerable. Now, it is a music venue. It is going to be loud, but it doesn't need to be unpleasantly so, right?
So those are all measured at front of house, which is the sound booth. So each venue has a different distance too from the stage to the sound booth.
Right.
So even those ones that are louder are actually even traveling a further distance from the stage to, or from the speakers to the sound booth. And I don't want you guys to quote me on any of this because I am not a sound engineer, but I'm going to tell you what I know. So don't hold it against me. But what we do is we measure both at the sound booth and we actually put out a movable sound measuring device across the street in the Lake Cliff yard for every show. So in real time, our sound engineers at our sound booth are measuring both what's happening right there at the sound booth and what's happening across the street.
Okay. And so do we have any data to show us, okay, we were at 90 dBs for 2 hours at,
Yeah.
not at the sound booth, but at the residences, because that would be pretty obnoxious.
We do measure and
Yeah.
record all of that.
It'd be good to see that data. I mean, not this committee necessarily, but certainly you would say, well, yeah, well, we measured it, that's great. But we got to 90 for 2 hours. I can see the residents being upset.
Well, and that.
Because if it's 90, I'm sorry for interrupting you, because if it's 90 there, then it's definitely 105 in the venue, maybe at the sound booth, and do we really need to be that loud? You still,
Yeah, and I can tell you, and this is just a piece of data, of the complaints that we as the events department have received for sound, this year we had 3. One was a season-long complaint. 2 were just specific to one show. So we heard from 3 residents all year this year. Last year, we heard from 1. The year before, we heard from 1. And the year before that, we heard from 1. So I've had 1 sound complaint each year. This year.
that's interesting.
3.
I've gotten more complaints. Just kind of from people, in town, and when they know that I'm on the committee.
We talked about maybe going out to the property managers along there. If we had an opportunity to do that and see if they're hearing stuff that maybe we aren't hearing, or people that might Airbnb their places.
Yeah, but they all advertise. The first thing in their thing is across the street from Amphitheater, as if it's the welcoming thing. So it is a positive thing for the renters or.
Convenient to get to.
Yeah. It's as if they expect to have sound because they're renting off the.
I wonder about the Ptarmigan Lodge owners too.
Yeah, but see, they're not directly. in
Some of
front
them,
it.
some of them.
You see, sound kind of goes forward, so,
There's more to the side.
yeah,
I think it is very reasonable to engage going forward, immediate neighbors, stakeholders, like we always try and do. Scott, I remember when we were working on the concept for this remodel of the amphitheater. Roland Gash, am I right on that?
Yes.
He was the HOA president at the time. And I remember having a lot of involvement with him. So I think it is reasonable to address these issues going forward with those most affected. I understand that. I was in the next building over in Marina Place when my kids were brand new. And I understand and empathize with the issue with the sound. And like Vince is saying, and I don't know how this is measured exactly. I believe it's our don't our police get involved in these things?
If there's
They
an
go out
official
and they have
sound
a little
complaint made, they will
sniffer
go out.
thing that listens and says, well, you're.
Mhm.
You know, I think we really do have to stick to what we say we're going to do with the noise. I think that is very reasonable. And the numbers, like we're all saying, if it's, sorry, I'm not finding them now, but if it's 95 versus 102,
Mhm.
I'm not sure what the difference is there. I'm sure there's a difference.
Yeah, and I would say
Um,
that number 2 is the maximum. So the number that we're saying is the maximum, and we don't reach that. So
Yeah.
we're setting our maximum number, but we don't actually get there. Of all the shows that I reviewed, we were never there. So that's the other thing. to
It's
keep in
interesting. I looked up 95 dBs. That's nightclub level.
110 to 120 is actually what a lot of the
110 's
levels
rough.
say. Yeah. And we're less than that.
Maybe the old guy nightclubs that we go to now.
Yeah, the quartets with
Exactly,
a little flute.
So Jesse, we've been
And the
talking.
Glenn Miller band is never that loud.
Right, exactly. I don't think Doo-Wop Danny hits this number. So yeah, there's a difference in the band, and it sounds different. So I go to a lot of the shows. I sit outside for a lot of shows, and in fact, I oftentimes would sit right. Basically, there's a fire hydrant right in front of Lakeland, and that's a great spot to the sound is awesome.
Yep.
There.
Yeah.
So I think striking the right balance is important here. There are other notes in this email we have about frequency of shows, style of shows. I think Jesse, over the last couple of years, you've struck a really good balance of getting different genres represented. And I think that's really important, that we're not just a bluegrass amphitheater, that we have a little bit for everybody. That's important. That feels like a community ad. And then I think the frequency of shows, again, you and I have talked about this over the last couple of years, and certainly the balance of like paid versus free. I think that's a tough line to toe. Again, going back to when we decided to put all this money into the amphitheater, at that time, I would have told you I'd be more in favor of more free shows, but I understand the model, and I think what you've done with it is good. That's not really the issue here, is paid versus free. But I am of the opinion, having lived in Marina Place, right next door to Lake Cliff, that this window of time is quite short for us. And I think having more, not more than we have, but I think you're finding the right balance of number of shows or frequency of shows. And I probably am not in favor of seeing that number go down. But the sound issue is important. And I don't know how to, I'm going to say police it. I don't know how to do that exactly. But we should talk with, it seems like Lake Cliff is most directly affected by this. We should involve them going forward. I know we're all open to these conversations. And try and figure out how to address that. Is that something that takes place at sound check? Like somebody, whether it's from the promoter side or staff side or PD side, like during sound check, is standing there on the lawn of Lake Cliff and says, okay, this is good. Don't touch anything. I don't know if that's
Which
good.
we are doing.
do that,
because
great.
that is that monitor out there that we're getting
Cool.
real-time feedback.
And like Vince was saying, I think the important measurable here is probably not, I mean, the sound booth is pretty darn close, right? And
It's 85 feet.
So measuring from there, I think isn't quite meeting the need, but rather where are people going to be affected? My experience the last 2 years there is these shows aren't running that late. I'm sure there's an exception or exceptions, but generally I think those are quitting pretty earlier than they were 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, we're using 10 o'clock as our hard curfew. That's what we tell every band. That's what's in every offer. Or that's what's
Most
in our,
shows, I would
every-
say, go almost up to that unless the weather's bad, then sometimes they cut it a little short.
Yeah, we'll either cut short or that's the only time we'll go a little bit later. Technically, 11 is our hard curfew,
Mhm.
but 10 o'clock is what we just tell everybody that we're going to shut them off at 10 o'clock. The only time we make an exception is if we have a delay because of weather. So if we have to delay opening doors or if we have to pause the performance for a little bit while lightning
Then a
rolls
lot of
through.
people leave.
Yeah, and a lot of people leave, and a lot of times we still even end up at 10. So 10 is really our hard curfew, except for weather.
And as we talk about this is going to sound a little bullish, but hey, this is developed into in pretty short order a pretty awesome spot and a pretty cool amenity. We all have the story of being somewhere else and hearing other people talk about the Dillon Amphitheater in the same sentence as Red Rocks. They're different, but we organically have gotten to a spot with this thing where it's pretty awesome. And I want to make sure that it's still, want to make sure we're preserving the experience, but not at the expense of our most immediate neighbors. So that maybe is, as we continue to talk about this with everyone, that would sort of be an overarching theme for me is, hey, this has got to be worth, when I go to a show, it depends on the show. No, when I go to a show, I do want it to be loud. I want that experience. But we can't be, we got to be careful.
So to the point of the decibel measurement, I think that's a dynamic number. And with the weather, wind and all that, how do you ever control the movement of that thing with the weather and all that? So I like it
And
when you
that's-
say we always operate below the maximum to allow for that fluctuation, because it's not a constant point of here.
And that's a good point. And,
You
and
know?
again, I am not a sound engineer, so don't hold this against me if I don't explain this right. But decibel is a logarithmic number. It's not like when you go to your stereo and you crank it up to 10,
Right.
like 1, 2, 3, 4, and each one is
11.
the same
We go to
increments.
11.
Decibels are actually a power of 10. So they jump quickly when you get up into those big numbers. They're also, the way that decibels are measured at venues is an average. So it's actually an average over time because there can be like one really loud note, but then, everything else is pretty.
Right.
So it's actually taking an average over a period of time.
That
1 minute,
makes
5
sense.
minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. It's not like you see on your stereo 7 and
Yeah,
it's
or
7.
stand there and then see what the decibel
Mhm.
would be because it fluctuates.
Yeah.
And then the other thing for me personally, I don't want this sound issue control the genre at the amphitheater. I feel like that's the feeling I get about it. It's like the outcome could be a genre control, and I don't think that's right.
Can I ask a follow-up on what Mimi just said a second ago? About the dynamic nature of weather? Yeah, how much control do you have over the band in the middle of a show? Let's say the wind switches or the humidity spikes, whatever.
Right.
Can you go to the sound engineer and say, hey, turn it down?
Mhm.
You do have that control.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've actually done that.
Okay.
But they're always still within the range because I will go and I'll stand over their shoulders and I'll look at the numbers.
Yeah.
We had one show this year where a lot of the patrons were kind of coming up to the bar and saying, wow, it seems really loud tonight. It seems louder than normal. Are you selling earplugs? And so I'll take that cue and go down and check out what's going on in real time. And I'll look over their shoulders and I'll look at those numbers. And even though they're within that, I'll just say like, hey guys, we're getting feedback from the crowd that it's just a little too loud today. And they will absolutely do that for us. We always have 2 sound engineers that are contractors of ours on site, one at the side of the stage. You'll see where that monitor world is. That's what the band is hearing. And then we always have one of our folks one of our contractors at the sound booth as well. A lot of times it is the band's sound engineers that are actually doing the mixing because they know what sounds the best for the different mixes. But our guys are there, our guys and gals are there to turn down the number if it starts getting over what our meters are supposed to be.
2 other thoughts, because Louis earlier mentioned kind of the schedule. For me, music doesn't start early enough in the season. I mean, it's May 1st, I'm ready. And it's like June 17th, they're finally there. So just a thought.
That's a good segue.
That's actually a
Exactly.
good segue.
And then we should sell the ear.
We do. If
Okay.
you go up to the bar, we do have earplugs for $1. So
Oh,
you can always
awesome.
take advantage of
The
that.
dollar's not bad. I was
For
gonna say.
when I forget,
Yeah, we have a bucket of.
for when I forget, it's good to know.
Yeah, we do always have those available. And I know it's not really on the subject today, but I did want to just give you guys the data of the number of shows that we've been doing and how the average is out over the season. So this year we had 40 shows. It was 14 free, 26 paid. Between our opening date and our closing date, it was a 15-week season. So if you divide those 40 shows over those 15 weeks, we averaged 2.67 shows per week, which is exactly what our community survey said they wanted to hear. It's actually a little bit less.
And Jesse, we start in on,
Our opening date this year was June 7th,
and we end
and
on,
our ending date was September 21st. So the first week of June through the third week of September is what we're talking about. So we did have 2 weekends that had 4 shows in a row, 1 weekend with 3, but if you actually average it out, we had a little bit of a lighter July, a little bit heavier August. We hit that average of 1 free show, 2 paid shows throughout the summer is what we heard from our community in the survey we did last year.
1 free, 2 paid per week
Per week.
was
Yeah.
the average.
Yeah, that was our average. We had a few less than last year. Last year we had 44 total, which is still that similar average. 36 in 2023, 39 shows in 2022, 38 shows in 2021. So we've been very consistent of how many shows we're having really since COVID time and since the remodel took off. Yeah, and so jumping into our next topic, unless anyone had any more on sound.
Do we sell ponchos?
We do now, yes.
Okay,
Yep, that was addition we did this year because we had so many requests for it. It was so funny. We got them in July and we didn't sell them for a month because it didn't rain. But then August hit, like that middle of August, and then we went through all of them right away. So we have reordered though. We have new ones for next year and we stocked up on them.
But yes, there was a comment about doubleheader weekends. I was curious how many times we had that happen. You said 1 weekend with 4 and 1 weekend with 3.
Yeah.
Rainbow Kitten Surprise was dope.
Yeah, if you're talking a true double header where it's the same band back-to-back nights, I think we had one. We had Joe Russo's Almost Dead, Rainbow Kitten Surprise. I want to say that was our only Sound Tribe Sector 9. So we had 3 double headers.
Okay, so it's not an extensive number.
No, we try to kind of limit it each year. But the double headers actually help us out a lot. The email wasn't quite, well, it helps us out a lot because all of the labor at the amphitheater is Town of Dillon staff. So doing 1 load in and 1 load out is actually saves us a lot of money on how much staff we need. It really helps us keep our staff from getting burnt out as well, because they don't have 2 huge long days back to back. And it actually, we see a spike in tourism those days too. So we see more people coming in and staying overnight, contributing to our lodging tax, contributing to our sales tax and our restaurant tax. So the double headers actually are helpful to the town's bottom line.
Do we get any kind of numbers from the hotels in Dillon on those nights that if they are more sold out or not?
You know, I haven't spoken directly with them or they haven't shared that information with me, but I do like to go on their websites and look to see like what room types are available if they have availability those nights, and you'll see that.
Because they can't even park their cars there at the hotel and walk over.
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
has like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
benefits.
Yeah, it is.
Talking about benefits, locals benefits. This is something that my husband and I talk about all the time. What if we sold season tickets? You sell season ski tickets, people plan to ski 30 days a year, they ski 3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it works out in the ski area's favor. A locals discount. We do have some, sometimes it's hard to live in a place like this. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything personally, but it'd be cool if I could either get a discount or even a locals entry gate, locals beer price. something where if I flash my Dillon driver's license, I get a little something, something. Just saying,
Yeah,
selfishly.
Yeah. So I
Vince-
love them and I
Vince and
wish
I
we
are
could.
voting yes.
I think the season tickets we've definitely talked about. The issue with that is that how do you pay the bands? Because it all comes back to, you know, the artists and the
At
fee that they're
Alpine
taking.
Valley in Chicago, I had season tickets.
Hmm.
I mean,
Mhm,
I hardly ever went, but I have them. So
mhm.
there's a way, there's got.
Yeah, there is a way. I don't know exactly what that
And is
model
it
looks
worth
like.
it given the size of our venue? Maybe not, but
Mhm.
Is that venue year round or is it seasonal?
seasonal. It was a summer place.
Yeah, and same with the price of the tickets, that's set by the bands. The artists themselves are telling us how much to sell the tickets for, so
Are there
getting
any
them to
free
do a
tickets?
discount.
Are there any tickets that are given away?
Not really, no. No. The beer price is hard because everybody's a local when it comes time to pay up. So how do you actually do that or don't do that?
It's a different color strap.
Which we've gone away. Part of our sustainability effort has been getting rid of the wristbands as much as we can. We've gone back to the
Yeah, and you
handstands.
can't burden the bar with checking IDs because that's going to
Right.
slow the line
No,
down
no.
tremendously.
Yeah, but I like them and we'll continue to talk about ways that we can.
Something to think about.
Yeah,
Something to
absolutely.
noodle on.
So I think the last thing on our list, kind of going back to, there's two more things. What Mimi had mentioned about starting earlier, Maureen. There has been some discussion, or one of our council members had mentioned, like, what if we could open the amphitheater earlier or shut it down later? The biggest thing that dictates that for us is the one season ability or one seasonality of all of our buildings down there. They really aren't built, they're not insulated to stay open any longer than when the freezing stops and when the freezing starts. Scott and his team do a really good job of monitoring like when we can turn the water on in those buildings and when we need to get it off by. So that's really how we've built our schedule, our start and our end date, is to when we confidently feel like the water can get on in the bathrooms, in the back for the green rooms. Just being able to offer those amenities to both our guests and to the artists and to our staff. And then also things like food service, and the bar has to have a wash station and things like that. So that's really what has dictated our season right now. There has been some discussion of what would it take to winterize the amphitheater, but then also what would the benefit be? How much longer of a season could we truly go? And would there be demand to have a longer season? So I'm curious, would you all come to a
Trying-
show on May 1st?
A
in
couple
your
things is
Town parkas.
trying to go back and retrofit some insulation, then that would be very hard. A lot of those pipes are buried in walls now, and so that's pretty tough. Jess and I have discussed it. The other thing you could do is just throw a huge amount of heat at it, either early or late, but that is expensive because the building's not insulated, so all that heat goes out. One thing I will say is that for startup, there's a long list of things that have to be done in terms of preparation of the facility. And, besides the water and all the other things that have to be put in place, but getting the lawn to a point where it can sustain people getting on it.
Mhm.
So it becomes problematic and difficult. So,
Okay, so that's facility winterization, so everybody knows now. It's no starter. Okay, anything else right now, Jess?
The last thing on there was the role and scope review.
Yep.
And that was attached. Thanks to Linda for these notes from the last meeting. Did everyone feel like this accurately captured the discussion that we had? Was there anything else you wanted to add or take off of here?
so just so you know, we had that meeting, we took notes, we tried to capture everything you guys talked about. Linda took that back to council for review. I asked for any comments from council, have not received any. So I'm just going to say I don't know whether Linda wants to circle back on that conversation about roles and responsibilities concerning the amphitheater. But if you have any additional, like having read that, I don't want to take up too much time, but if you have any additional comments, email either Jesse or I to add those to the list. But I think generally we captured what you guys were looking for.
Jesse, just as a trivia thing, I just Google. It says, yes, noise often seems louder in cold temperatures in Colorado.
Interesting.
It says due to how sound travels through the atmosphere and amplified by the common temperature inversions. So extending the music into September, October will be
Yeah,
louder.
I'll have a sliding scale.
Yeah.
So cold air is denser, and so the sound sounds louder. It's easier to fly a helicopter in cold weather than it is in warm weather,
Oh,
just because of air density.
More fun fact.
Yeah.
so as the night gets colder,
Mm.
the noise
You
gets
get louder.
louder. Maybe,
possible.
I'm just saying.
No, you're probably right.
Interesting.
Just saying.
So
to
real
run it
quick,
by.
Jess, so, obviously this role and scope for us, another thing we're taking on, we also do parks and
Mm-hmm.
art and all this stuff. How often are you going to be wanting to come, to us? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
right now during the winter time, I guess, amphitheater is a little bit on the lower, but I would assume we're going to revisit some of this stuff, towards spring, maybe April, May. Maybe
You're
even talk
probably
about.
thinking about planning now.
Yeah, I think even sooner, maybe specific to the sound conversation, I think
Mhm.
it's something we probably want to get back on in February.
I agree.
Yeah, let me
and
take all
try
this
to-
feedback and take it to our sound guys and kind of discuss, compare to some of the others, really get a feel for what that number means.
Yeah.
And we've had some talk about updating our equipment too, so that we have even better readings in real time, not just to the sound booth, but actually to the back of the house where the band managers are looking at it and where our tech staff are, as well as the front of the house where, I'm often in the box office looking at some of the numbers up there. So having even more places that we're monitoring those numbers in real time is something that we're looking at upgrading over the winter as well.
And I'm honestly surprised at the volume of complaints that you've gotten is so low. I mean, that makes it a tougher, we want to address the neighbors. We want to take care of the people in the neighborhood.
Well,
But are we,
well, we have one contact now. And again, we've talked to the HOA in the past, a year,
Yeah.
10 years ago, whatever. So I think reaching out and being,
right, proactive.
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And maybe even, not trying to pile on for February, but maybe it's something we could do in February at our next meeting. If you're able to get stuff from the sound engineer that helps us,
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, let me look into this more.
I think that'd be helpful.
They may even say our renters for the weekend, they were complaining because they wanted to have a party on the balcony for the concert to be free to them, or they couldn't hear it. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like,
Yeah,
there's like people who are renting with the amphitheater concert night and advertisement.
yeah. I mean, the amphitheater, right. I mean, I agree with, I feel like I have to be careful how I say this without sounding
Yeah,
callous,
no.
but the amphitheater has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And then the new amphitheater came in 8 years ago.
2014,
2018.
or is that right? 2014?
2018.
And we finished in
2018.
At any rate, changes and it's become more of a thing. But certainly, yeah, all of us who have property on the waterfront have benefited for
Yeah.
sure.
Sure,
Yeah.
especially ones who rented every weekend.
I think we started design in 2014, construction in 2016. Is that right? And completed in 20.
First season was
Design.
2018. The first season it was open
Yeah.
was 2018.
I think my last year was on the council was 2014, talking about it.
Right.
What's the average takeaway to the town in dollars from paid shows?
Last year, and I'm still working on this year's numbers, last year was about $50,000 per show.
50,000
Okay, guys.
net of
Pass the
costs
time.
and all that stuff. And so if we were to take 10 shows out like was proposed here, then It's $500,000 to the town budget. right?
Yeah, we'd have to cut most of our free shows because really the paid shows are paying for the free shows. We're trying to keep that a nice balance that we're covering our costs.
That is, I mean, you've heard me say that in this room many times.
Wanna
The
say
the
one-
paid shows paying for the free shows.
Guys, we need to wrap it up.
I just want to say one
Yeah,
last thing.
citizens.
9 years ago, when we were getting designs for the amphitheater renovation, everything I was hearing was, oh, the view. Oh, what's going to happen to the view to Lake Cliff and all the surrounding condos? Nobody ever was worried about sound or anything. It was more the view. Please design it so it doesn't block our view and all. That's all I remember. Remodeling.
Yeah.
And they did a great job.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you. Thank
thanks,
you all for
And
the
we'll
great feedback.
see you in February, for sure.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
All right, the last thing we have is citizen comments, so. Joe?
Hi, Shannon White.
Hey, Sharon.
Jennifer. I'm so appreciative that we now have an amphitheater committee, and thank you all for being willing to this aspect to PrAC, as the amphitheater is such a big part of our town. And it's with deep respect for you all and for town staff and for the various departments that I respectfully say the following. At many recent meetings, we've heard repeated references to the record bar sales of $1.5 million. And I'd like to know exactly where this figure appears in the town's budget, because I've reviewed the available financial documents and cannot locate any accounting for that supports that number. And for a claim of this scale, the public should be able to easily verify this, where it comes from and how it was calculated. And I also want to address my earlier request for a profit and loss statement for the amphitheater, both by season and by individual show. What I received, having requested this before, was just the general budget, which is not a P&L and does not provide the detail necessary to accurately evaluate actual financial performance. Using the limited numbers that are included in the general budget, the amphitheater appears to either break even or operate at a loss. And I understand that the stated goal is to break even while covering the debt payment on the facility, but without true P&Ls, neither the public nor this committee can accurately determine whether that goal is being met. Given that the amphitheater is not run as a for-profit business and is already treated in many ways like an enterprise fund, I question why the programming philosophy continues to be to push for more shows when the financial outcome is essentially break even. This becomes even more important when we consider the town's data-driven survey, which clearly identified a community preference for 2.8 shows per week. And I'm asking that this number be entered directly, not as an average across heavy and light months. In 2025, July had a very limited programming, while August was overwhelming for the residents living near the venue. Even pacing is just as important as total number. So I'm requesting that this committee in future conversations evaluate the following: the community impact of our current programming, current level of show frequency when there is little to no financial return. The sound policy revisions, because of the amphitheater's unique proximity to residential units that predate it, I ask that we seriously consider lowering allowable decibel levels to balance quality shows with the quality of a life for the surrounding residents. And I want to be clear, comparing our sound policy to venues without residential units in direct proximity is not a valid comparison. Transitioning the amphitheater into a true enterprise fund with standard P&L.
That's all right.
So that we can properly evaluate whether current operations provide a net benefit to the town, and programming alignment with survey results, ensuring that 2.8 shows per week preference is honored both in volume and in distribution throughout the season. Transparent accounting, balanced scheduling, and sound policies that reflect our actual neighborhood conditions are essential if the amphitheater is going to serve the whole community sustainably and responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Somebody online?
Yes, Richard Solner.
Go ahead.
Tell them 3 minutes.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. I live in the Lake Cliff complex. I got to say, this is more of a story, but we moved here from Costa Rica. I even have a venue slash brewery in Costa Rica with, sound and really considering the neighbors with the sound. I love the amphitheater. It's one of the big draws why we purchased the place. I've really enjoyed it. However, this last year seemed to have, really the number of shows seemed to increase, but really it's the frequency. So I remember one weekend, I believe there was 5 shows straight. And, it's not only the show, it also includes the sound check. I believe some of the shows had 4 hours of sound check. So you can imagine, when you talk about the decibels, and when you're thinking anything above 80 decibels, it's loud and it truly shakes our apartment. We cannot really have an enjoyable dinner on some evenings because everything is shaking in the apartment or the condo. And it's getting to the point where we really have to think about potentially selling the place because it's become that big of a deal. It almost feels like, when you get onto the third night and the decibels are that loud and the sounds that loud, it becomes really something that we don't want to be a part of. Now, again, I want to go back to the fact that I do love the amphitheater. I've been, I was in the music industry in the past. It's one of the biggest draws on why we purchased our place. However, it's starting to become quite a bit. And it's, we have, I'm not sure how many weekends we have shows, but, for us, we would like to come up for the entire summer. However, we've decided sometimes not to come up because of the shows. And that's really, I just want to make that point. And thank you so much for having this discussion because it is important to, I believe, the neighbors. And if we had the same type of summer as this last summer, I can almost guarantee you we'll get more complaints because it is, it becomes disturbing, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Okay.
Hi, I also live in Lake Cliff. I'm the one that wrote the email last night. I'm the de facto face of the new Neighbors of the Amphitheater Committee. You should be receiving a lot of letters from various HOAs in the coming weeks. I'm having a really hard time because we can't like live there anymore, guys. It's so crazy. I used to produce music, 96 decibels on my patio. I know I sent you guys some of the videos. I mean, it's completely insane. And please remember, the only reason that the town is allowed to do this amount of decibels is because because the amphitheater is owned, and I wrote this in the email, by the municipality, and because it's operating not for profit and for community events. Every time I've been to every city council meeting and every PrAC for the past 4 months, and all I hear is profit, parking, profit. Is anyone considering like the parking of Lake Cliff? We've had to hire guards to protect our parking. My kids are on their skateboards and people are flying through, and the fire department says we can't put a gate right there at the top of the marina because of fire access. So just to address the parking, maybe we could get some of the attendants to help us because we have thousands of people coming through our property. We already spent $8,000 on a fence. Some other points I have in here is Jesse doesn't talk about, I used to be the manager at Austin City Limits music venue. Bands will follow what you put in the contracts. I did an open records request last week to see what the sound levels were. And the town response was, we don't do the contracts with the bands. If you look, say, where's the money going? If you look at who does the contracts with the bands, 6.8 million in ticketing, and we pay the promoter 6.4. We get 5%. of the ticket costs. I'm wondering, there's a lot of lawsuits out there against venues, and this is really looking like a for-profit thing. And the only reason you can go above 50 decibels past 7 p.m., which is the state standard, is because it's a community benefit and it's not for profit. So this is looking pretty profited to me, and some of the neighbors are getting really upset. Jesse, you have a child. How would you feel if you couldn't put your kid to sleep until 10:30 p.m., 45 nights of the summer, which is about 60% of the entire summer? This is why I talk about frequency. There has been no guardrails on this. Last summer, I had a brain injury, and you didn't hear from me last summer because we live up here half the year, and I was crying in the bedroom. I couldn't be in my own home with a traumatic brain injury last summer. She talked about there's only 6 complaints. That's from the events department. I did an open records request with the entire town. There's many more. I can share them with you. And the police have even more. So I would suggest going there. 2.8, 8 days in a row, I felt like I was losing my mind. And every picture in my house is a concert poster. We love the music. I was at G Love last night. It is 85 decibels in my home. Guys, put it on a decibel meter in your phone and turn your car radio up. It's damage to your ears in 75 minutes.
Carrie,
And I worry about the free shows with families.
Carrie, your 3 minutes is up. We appreciate it, but thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other citizen comments? Okay, for February, we're going to do some other projects. What do you have?
So in February, I like to, so the budget will be approved this month by council. So in February, so we're not meeting in January, but in February, I'd like to just run through with you the list of projects that we have that were approved. And so I can't do that until it's formally approved by resolution by council. So I want to review that. I also will prepare a draft of the work plan like I do every year. So you guys will be able to review and comment on that. I'll try to send that out early for people to look at. And then it sounds like we're going to continue the sound discussion. Is that what I'm hearing from? Is that?
Yeah, we want to talk more about.
I think that'd be great.
Yep.
We need some kind of a recommendation.
Carrie, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
One question for Scott, please.
Go ahead.
When we talked about the arts policy a couple meetings ago, there were some final revisions that were to be made. Was that ever finalized, presented to council, approved, posted?
So
I kind of got lost.
Let me circle back on that. So I completed the revisions and I sent that to the Dillon Town manager, and he has that. So it's just a matter of him figuring out on the council agenda where he wants to fit that in. So I'm guessing he probably, with everything else that they're looking at, maybe it'd be after the first of the year, if that's okay.
Yeah, no,
but
that's
I will circle back.
Yeah, I just thought you guys did
Yeah.
a great job putting it together. You know.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah,
put it to
definitely.
bed.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. Anybody else have anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Anybody opposed? All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays. See you next.
Oh, yeah.